Hello everybody, I'm back. How are you all doing? I know it's been a while since my last video. To all my subscribers, I thank you for being so patient with me if you're watching this video. It has been quite a long time since my last one. Um, but I'm back, so yay. Hope you're all doing well. I'm in one of my usual spots. So, I got a lot of cool stuff to share with you guys. I've been training a lot these past few weeks. And yeah, so lots of cool information. Hope y'all enjoy it. So, in this video, I will be talking about um, the comprehensive human being and how that relates to being a hunter. So, let's start off, shall we? I made a lot of lovely diagrams, so I hope you guys enjoy them. Alright, so, here we have, well, I'll start off, so okay. In the beginning, which sounds awesome right now, there, and I'm trying to be as non-specific religion with this as possible because it's really not about religion, it's just about facts. And I'm sorry for those of you out there who are atheists. I do not mean any disrespect to you or anyone else of any religion, but these are just the words that I use, so religious disclaimer right here. But okay, so in the beginning there is Adonai, Brahma, Brahman, however you want to call it, basically the supreme being. And to call the supreme being a being is kind of a misnomer because to really call him, her, it, anything is kind of rude. It's like saying, like, I'm a being, I'm a flawed human being, this I know, and can't really call a supreme entity a thing because it's everything and it's cool. Anyway, so this supreme deity figure creates the universe and all the other universes for that matter. This being is in everything, and I once heard a great metaphor for this. So, if you taste salt, you know it's there. If you taste water without any salt in it, you know that it isn't there. If you taste water with salt in it, you can taste the salt so you can know it's there, even if you can't see it. Hope that sounds cool enough to get some of your marbles going. Anyway, so this being creates the universe. I'll talk about this in a later video, but right now I'm just focusing on humanity, and this is going to play into a lot of things that a hunter has to go through. So, humanity is the only form of being in any universe, heaven, hell, Asgard, Makria, everything, okay, that consists of there's 4 real spheres of influence, which just shows you why we're the coolest. Not to be theologically centric, but we are really a lot more powerful and a lot more amazing than most people realize. So, the first sphere, the thing that most people tend to be acknowledging of just because they can see it, is it there? Okay, yes, the body, the physical sphere. So, I have a physical body, okay? I also have a physical bottle of water, which looks green. That's just because there's stuff in it to make it taste better. I also have a physical cell phone. I have physical things. Now, the difference between me and those physical things is that I am a self-aware, at least mostly self-aware being, and I am capable of interacting with things. I have the ability to literally send energy through my body to make it do things. I can make this arm turn around and go forward, go in front of the screen, wave to all the viewers, and come back to me. So, technically speaking, this body is dead, inert matter. The only thing that's keeping it going is the other spheres of influence. This is why, or this is kind of how like telekinesis works, or poltergeist activity. The spirit will take this inert matter and give it energy, which is the primary function of how most of the things in the universe work. But we're a bit different. But it's kind of cool, so keep listening. Okay, so you have the body. Next sphere of influence that most people know about is the mind. Now, the body and the physical brain are also separate entities, although they're connected. But just for the sake of simplicity, let's just say the body and then the physical mind are one complete thing. The mind is an abstract concept, and it's really weird to think about. But this is also a very simple thing because I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I will not claim to be so. But this is just the things that I've experienced in my teachings and my understanding of how things work, and also understanding of how hunting works. And this actually plays into a lot of how ghosts work. So, after the body, we have what looks like a sun and a moon, because that's probably the best symbology I can use for that. Symbolism. Thank you, English classes in high school. You really helped. So, the sun and the moon, or the consciousness and then the subconsciousness. And this is actually talked about in Hinduism, which is really interesting because that came out long before modern psychology. But you have a conscience and then a subconscious. So the conscience is the part of you that is sort of in like the front. It's in a kind of weird metaphor kind of way. You can think of the conscience as the stage, where everything happens, where you interact with people, where you interact with the audience, which I guess can be other people in this metaphor. The subconscious is everything that's happening backstage. So the consciousness has an order to it. It has things that need to happen. It has a very systematic way of doing things, whereas the subconscious is a bunch of people in rafters throwing things in, throwing up backdrops, sending in other actors, doing everything you need to do. The subconscious is vastly larger than the conscious. It is kind of like a repository of everything, and it exists in a mental state. So, while both of these things are ephemeral, or not really ephemeral, but they're not physical, they're both very real, and we experience them. Now, many of you would be thinking that the consciousness and then subconsciousness are the soul, or the internal spiritual person. And while it sounds like that, not completely correct. Those are the things through which our soul interacts with our body and with our mind and lets us interact with the world. It gets weirder. So when you die, before you pass on to whatever place you're going to, your consciousness and subconscious are still in existence, as they will be for a while, probably forever. I can't speak for that though. So many ghosts will have a consciousness and a subconsciousness. Here's the rub though, a lot of ghosts are only working on the subconscious, so they make no sense, at least in a pre-conscious kind of way. It's kind of like when you're asleep, everything makes sense, and like when you're dreaming, and then when you wake up, what? That made no sense. What am I thinking? It's really weird, but there are also conscious spirits who know what they're, or sorry, conscious ghosts who know what they're doing. There's actually modern ghost hunters will call a conscience or a conscious ghost a spirit, and a unconscious ghost or a residual haunting a ghost, or yeah, that's subconscious. Right. In many people, these things are connected but separate, which is going to be interesting in a later video when I talk about other worlds, but we'll get back to that. So when you die, you have this major psychological break, and so your consciousness and subconsciousness are kind of separate, which is necessary. In Egyptian mythology or theology, I never like to use the term mythology. Um, your body is composed of these many different parts. Like you have your body, your soul, your shadow, your everything. And that's kind of relevant and true, because in modern ideology, there's really only the body and the soul, and that's not everything. There's actually a lot that goes into a human being, and a lot that happens after you die, and otherwise. So, right. Next sphere of influence is the spiritual one. Hope you guys can see that. Yay. So, spiritual um, sphere of influence is the part of you that cannot be seen by normal average means. It's kind of abstract, but it's there. um, in the same way that your mental body is not real. Well, it's real, but it's not. It's not physical. The spiritual body is real, but it's not physical either. So you, as I've talked about this in previous videos, you have a spiritual body and then a soul. So the spiritual body is your energy, it's your life force. It's kind of everything about you. And in the same way that our brain records the things that happens to us, as it then transmits them to our soul, our spirit also incorporates those things. So when you die and you are a spirit, if your residual spirit, if you leave behind a residual spirit, that is your spiritual body remembering things from your past life, moving around. It's not necessarily you in the you sense, although I guess it's a part of you. So yeah, I know it's a bit weird, but so the spiritual body is composed completely of energy, and in that sense it's capable of going vast distances. It can stretch different places. That's the part of you that that's the part that's energetically connected to an anchor, and an anchor, as I told you before, is the thing that a ghost attaches itself to, whether that be a human or an object or even their own body. Which, interestingly enough, there's a Bible verse, and I'm not quoting this directly because I'm terrible at that, but Jesus said that where your heart lies, it shall remain. So, like, if your heart remains in heaven, that's where you'll go. If your heart remains in your body, that's where it will stay. Interesting, isn't it? Again, not religious, but, you know, just an interesting thought. Um, right, so then that's your energetic body, which is necessary. So then you have your actual soul, what I guess you can call the ego, but again, that's not really a good description. If you want to go with psychology terms here, the ego would be your mind, superego would be your soul, I guess, and then the id would be your spirit. But that's not really right. So, not that psychology is wrong, just not a good connection. But I mean, it has some corollaries. Anyway, so your soul is really what you are. And the way I like to think about a soul is, again, with like sleep, or even when you're like really tired, you'll be like thinking about something, and you can think about it all you want, and then you like open your eyes, and then you like forget all about it. But it still happened. And that's very interesting, because that kind of relates to how the brain works. The brain interacts with our body, which interacts with everything that happens to us. So I see that pile of books over there, and I can pick out every single name. That information goes through the nerves in my eyes to my brain, gets recorded, and then transmits that message through all of those things that I just told you about to my soul. My soul then makes a response, sends it back through all of these things, and then allows me to talk about it or do whatever. The soul has a lot more powerful, or is more powerful than people realize. And the soul is quite possibly the most abstract of them all, because it's not really made out of anything. It's just kind of there, and we just know it's there. Isn't that weird? Um, and that's why a lot of people, when they have near-death experiences, don't remember anything because their brain is not recording a physical response, so it's not really getting the full picture. So like people who have died and then come back like within like 5 minutes, they might say that they some people have really good recollections of it, others don't. It's really just how your brain works. It's not really supposed to experience things that are past this life. Um, we're kind of like sent here to do what we're here to do, and our soul is supposed to do through us what it's supposed to do. But that's really it, which is the worst. I know. It's like, can't this all just be really simple? But then what would be the fun in that? We wouldn't have people like me explaining it. So, last bit right there is the spark. The spark is the coolest thing ever, I personally think, because it's just like, it's so incredible. And you're probably going right now, what is the spark? What is he talking about? Getting to it. Before I get to it, I just want to say really thankfully that the spark is the greatest gift in humanity, and it really makes you appreciate being human because a lot of people don't. Like, this is not everybody, but a lot of people, like, I'll be watching, like, Lord of the Rings, or I'll be watching Twilight, which, and they're just like, oh, it'd be so cool to be an elf, or it'd be so cool to be or to be a vampire, um, and it's like, nah, not really, not really feeling the whole wanting to not be human thing, because the spark is, and it's not really a spark in the sense that it's a spark. It's like an incredible energy that fills every single human being and unites them. And the spark is divine. It comes directly from the Creator. And the spark is quite literally the most powerful thing in all of existence because it connects directly to the Creator, to what I often call love, because that's the only way I can describe it. It's just the most powerful and intense thing. And we experience it so rarely because we're just not in contact with it. And it is just so powerful. Like, to call it a spark makes it sound tiny, but that's because it's tiny in retrospect to a being that is in everything and that is everywhere. It's I was once reading this X-Men comic and it's talking about the Phoenix Force, which is, if you've ever read it, it's the ultimate result of all life in the universe. It is connected to all life, and it's also connected to death and time, and it's this incredible being. And then so this group of people is trying to destroy it, and so they succeed in destroying a large portion of it. But what one of the people who's working on trying to destroy it says, well, we destroyed most of it. There's only a few bits left. They can't really do much harm. And then this other guy's talking to him, and he says, um, tell me, whatever his name is, what is a fraction of infinity? And it really hit me when I read that, like, wow, that's so awesome. And that's really um, how it kind of works. We all get a fraction of this infinite thing, and it's, oh my god, it fills us all, it connects us all, it gives us strength. It's there when we need it, it's there when we don't need it, which is never. And it's just this incredible, powerful thing. And to experience your spark, or to experience your connection to everything and to the divine itself, oh, takes your breath away. Alright, so last bit here is just going to be describing how all of this interacts, okay? And this is the quickest thing, and it's going to blow your mind, but just listen, alright? So the spark creates, well, it starts off the process of life. So your spark, bam, divine creation. You are now this new being, almost like a spirit before spirituality. Then as this spark travels around, it picks up and becomes a soul, sort of. Not really, but if the spark is the blue of a flame, the soul is like the yellow and the orange. Okay? So then the soul gets housed in a spirit, and then the spirit is dropped into a mental sphere. Not literally a sphere, but a sphere of influence. The mental, spiritual, soul, spark being is then sent into a body, okay? Or a collection of matter slowly forming inside of your mommy's womb, or a mother's womb. This thing then grows and interacts, and everything is still like putty. It doesn't really have like a solid form. It's always changing. The soul is a blank slate. The mind is mostly a blank state. And as this grows, it becomes you. So your genetics, everything about you, it's all related to the things that have affected you long before you were actually born. And every single one of us is born with all of these things. Some people are born with fractured psyches or fractured minds, but every single one of us has all of these things. And as we come into being and as we experience the world, these things change more, especially like the spirit and the mind. And if you've ever seen like a geographic map where it shows you like here's the top of a mountain and it's like one little tiny ring, and then every single other ring is like more deformed than the center one, that's kind of how it is. Your spark is in perfect circle, and everything around it just gets like more crumpled the more it goes away, which is why we die, honestly. Our bodies are the most deformed form of ourselves and of the divine. But then we get to die, and then when we die, our spirit moves on, hopefully, unless it sticks around, in which case I have to deal with it. Um, and so then all these things change, and we're so blessed to have a body and a mind and everything else because we can experience the world and we can change both ourselves and the world around us. We're not bound to a specific duty or task. We're bound to ourselves and what we want. And that should coincide with what the divine wants for us, but it doesn't have to be. We can make that choice for ourselves. And that is why it's awesome to be human, alright? So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Happy hunting, and yeah, have a good one.